Good morning, everybody. Pastor Rick here, Broadman Baptist Church. And today is July 9th, 2021. This is the Broadman Word. I hope you're having a marvelous day in the Lord. It is an amazing day to be a Christian, and what a wonderful opportunity God gives us every day to get up and be heirs to His kingdom, His chosen few, the ones that are here to reconcile the lost to the cross so that they can know the love of God as well. It's an excitement that we should have about us. Today, I want to talk to you about not forsaking. It is the admonishment, I guess, that many of us have heard over the years from Hebrews 10:25. But I think probably this passage is sometimes misread or maybe even misused. It's often employed in an attempt to get people to go to church or stay in church or maybe increase their attendance. Because, we're told that missing Sunday or Wednesday without an excuse is somehow forsaking the assembly. But is that really the important part? Is that really what Paul meant in writing Hebrews in general, or specifically this verse in 10:25? I think maybe not. I think there's a deeper meaning here that we can retrieve, and let's take a look at that. First of all, we should understand the book of Hebrews was most likely written by the Apostle Paul, but it's written to a group of Christians who had endured a period of pretty long struggles and suffering. They were exposed to all kinds of reproach and affliction. They had actually witnessed their brothers and sisters being thrown into prison, their own property taken from them, disadvantaged in many ways. And this was being written to Christians who experienced a great persecution of the church in Jerusalem. We hear about it in Acts chapter 8, verse 1. And these Jewish Christians endured this time of persecution with both joy and faith. But now it seems that decades later, perhaps their joy and their faith is wavering. Perhaps they've reached a time where things weren't as they were. So some of them are actually even ready to abandon the faith because they've been falling away from it incrementally for a while. So Hebrews then is intended to show us that our covenant with Jesus is better than any other covenant, or not having one at all. Jesus is the high priest, and he's a better high priest than anything that the world could ever come up with. And the tabernacle is a better place to dwell than anything the world could come up with. And Jesus was here to give us an inheritance, a better inheritance that could ever be provided for by the world. So then to abandon Jesus would be the worst mistake that somebody could make. So that's the context then of chapter 10 of Hebrews. Let's turn our attention to the more specific verse we're talking about. Hebrews 10 is about the fact that there would be no forgiveness of sins if there wasn't Jesus. And so then if a person rejects the sacrifice that Jesus made on their behalf, there is no other way for them to be saved. So the writer then is calling them to hold fast, to not waver, warning them to not be trampled underfoot, not to be profane. The blood of the covenant is how they were sanctified. He warns them not to throw away their confidence, or to be like those who shrink and are destroyed, or to not even be um, the kinds that waver any in the face of adversity. These are all warnings of from Hebrews. It is only in the context of these sorts of phrases that we can understand the true test of this phrase, do not forsake the assembly, from Hebrews 10:25. It's quoted like that often, but it's truly not a complete sentence. It's not a complete idea. We should really take a look at 10:24 and 25. I'll read it to you in that context, 24 and 25. It says, and let us consider one another in order to stir up love and good works, not forsaking the assembly of ourselves together, as is the manner of some, but exhorting one another, and so much more as you see the day approaching. As you can see, read in context with 24 and 25, it takes on a different meaning. It takes on the type of meaning from the rest of Hebrews 10. And in fact, the book of Hebrews in general. If we translate forsaking, it's used quite a few times in the New Testament. Jesus cried out, why have you forsaken me? And of course, God did not abandon Jesus in the realm of the dead. Paul said that we're persecuted but not forsaken. And several of Paul's companions deserted him in the desert. So God then promised that he would never leave or forsake us. So what is the application then? How are we to understand this statement about not forsaking the assembly as some have? Well, some Christians begin to slide and fall away from their faith, and then it becomes apparent in some things. You start to see them less. They are actually not in church as much. They're not serving in a ministry that is noticeable anyway. And their contact with the family of God outside of regular church services also lessens. So, in that sense, they begin to abandon the assembly. Hebrews is telling us to get closer together. He's telling us to figure out ways to rebuke the enemy and to stay true to the faith and be joyful instead of trying to chase things that make us happy. We're supposed to encourage each other more and more so that no one walks away from Christ. The author's telling us to not turn our backs on the church and to instead turn towards the church in times of difficulty. So, are you supposed to miss church? No. Missing a service now and again, forsaking the assembly? Not really. There are plenty of people who have reasons for being or not being there. What we need to worry about is the people who aren't there because of difficulty and strife, because of wavering and faltering, and because they may be having difficulties with the life as a Christian in general, and that's why they're not there. That's forsaking the assembly, not the occasional missed service or services, not that somebody's not the most regular Wednesday attender, not that somebody isn't there every Sunday. These things are not forsaking the assembly. We need to worry about the ones who aren't there because of spiritual reasons. That's where our concern needs to be. Being together with our church family should be of utmost importance to us. It should drag us to church no matter what might be going on in our lives. And when it doesn't, our brothers and sisters should notice and come alongside us, like the author of Hebrews says, with hope, encouragement, faith, and love. to restore the relationship in their heart so that then they don't forsake the assembly. Hey, listen, I love you. I hope you have a wonderful day in the Lord. I'll talk to you next time.